Well, it was the first ever State of the District tonight for Rochester Public Schools. The new school year has begun. The district is asking taxpayers for more money this November, and test scores are on the rise slightly, but not nearly where they were 10 years ago. There's a lot to talk about, but first let's discuss those proficiency rates. This year's Minnesota Comprehensive Assessments show test scores are increasing for the first time in 10 years in math, reading, and science. So that's positive. But as you can see by this chart, there is a long way to go to get back to those 2014 levels. KIMT News 3's Brandon Cote is joining us live from outside John Marshall High School tonight, where the State of the District took place. Brandon was in attendance. So Brandon, it was probably nice to talk firsthand with some students tonight. What did you learn?
Yeah, Cami, so I spoke with a few high schoolers from Mayo High School, and they're telling me that their teachers involving technology more into learning is why they believe test scores are slightly rising. So one student I spoke with says some teachers are becoming more open with students using artificial intelligence. The teacher will allow the student to sometimes use AI to come up with an answer as long as they change it into their own wording. Before the COVID-19 pandemic, the students are saying they would only sometimes use technology and rely more on pen and paper. The high schoolers tell me since teachers were forced to learn how to incorporate technology into learning because of the pandemic, they are now more comfortable using it more in more engaging and creative ways.
It's been a real adjustment coming back to school after being online for so long, but it's definitely been a good type of adjustment.
Online, I know I wasn't really learning as best as I could have, but since we're kind of out of that COVID area now, that people are kind of more paying attention.
When I came back, it was definitely much more technology-based. There's a lot more integration, especially with the way we're more easily able to switch between online and in-person learning.
Superintendent Bickel says whether or not this State of the District will happen again next year will depend on the feedback from tonight's attendees and Rochester families in the district. Live in Rochester, Brandon Cote, KIMT News 3.
And speaking of Superintendent Kent Bickel, Brandon, what was his message tonight?
Yeah, basically, Cami, he went over how the school district is supporting students and how it's meeting their psychological needs. So just a few ways of how they're coming out of the pandemic, and even a few students went on to speak on stage tonight, and they're saying about how incorporating more student involvement with clubs and sports is really one of the best ways to meet these psychological needs and make the student a more whole-rounded person and learner.
All right, a lot to keep an eye on there in the Rochester Public School District. Brandon, thank you so much. The MCA test results this year are still lower from the ones back in 2018. We constantly look at that COVID-19 year before and after. Math is about 13% lower, reading is almost 10% down, while science is about 7% behind from the results 6 years ago.